This is how I balance all of my fitness training, my business, and my home life. I have 2 kids, one's 9, one's 18 months, and a partner. And gone are the days where I had little to no commitments, playing World of Warcraft all the time. I wasn't responsible for other humans and just basically doing whatever I want. And that's kind of come to an end. Doesn't mean that I have to completely give up on getting in shape, looking fit, feeling fit, being strong. And I think it's even more important actually having a family. But I do have to balance things a bit better now and be a bit stricter because there's lots of moving parts. So I was thinking about this video and I've realized over the years I've created systems, habits, little hacks, efficiencies where it means that I can get my training in and balance the home life much easier and make progress in basically all directions. One of the cornerstones to balancing everything is definitely prioritizing things. And this can be done in a number of different ways. And you might be able to relate to this. Sometimes as parents, we fall to the bottom of the to-do list. Other things just crop up. Maybe your kids are ill, maybe your partner's ill, maybe they need to be in a certain place at a certain time, their club's changed, or maybe it's work, you have to work more over the weekends, or you have to stay on longer at work to get a certain piece of work done. Those things just seem to crop up all the time and they're unexpected and they're hard to plan for. And I've realized that's absolutely fine and I can still make progress if I use all of the steps in this video. This is where the priorities come in when it comes to training. Now, even as somebody that's following a hybrid training program, I'm not simultaneously trying to make progress across the board in absolutely everything. I have certain priorities. So maybe for example, I'm just maintaining my strength and my lifts, but I'm trying to improve my running. Rather than trying to improve my strength, my running, swimming and cycling all at once. If I'm focusing on running at the minute, then I'll put that as a higher priority, and practically what I'll do is I'll do that earlier on in the day. So maybe before the kids get up, and that means that if anything does crop up later in the day or during the day at some point, then I'm less likely to miss that first priority activity because I've already done it earlier on in the day. So my advice here is to have some priorities when it comes to your training, maybe some non-negotiable workouts and maybe some optional workouts that if things get in the way, it's not so much of a big deal. And this also helps mentally because I know that as long as I hit 80% of my training, you know, that's fine. I'm not gonna hit 100% of it. And if I was approaching it at the attitude that I wanna perfect this, I wanna hit 100% of my training, a bit of a perfectionist, then that's probably gonna knock me mentally when I've got to go pick up the kids from school because they're ill and I completely miss my workouts. And that might derail me for the entire week mentally. So I've got loads of practical tips coming up, but this next point is less of a practical tip and more of a belief or a philosophy. And that's the fact that you have to have some degree of selfishness. And I think this can be good. I don't know about you, but I personally massively value health. Now that's easy to say coming from a sports science background and a personal trainer, but honestly, I don't think there's much more in life that's important than our own health and the health of our families. I know if I'm lying on my deathbed, for example, and somebody says to me, what would you give for another day living on with your family and your friends? I would say I would give absolutely anything, all of my possessions, all of my money, cars, everything, houses, my bike even. I would give it all up, just have one more day with my family and my friends. I know that might sound silly or kind of a hypothetical scenario, but there's other instances in life as well where I've been willing to give a lot just to be in better health. Even when I've got a cold, for example, or I'm a little bit ill, or I've got a sickness bug from the kids, there's a lot that I would give up to be better. And you can't buy good health, you can't make it better. It's all well and good having all the money in the world, all the possessions, but if you're struck down with a preventable health condition or you can't use that money, access it, you're not mobile, you're not able to kind of live a full life with good quality, then what's the point in having all of those things? And that's why I think health ultimately is an absolute priority for me. And I also think it shows somewhat of a good role model. You know, I want my kids to grow up healthy, active, happy, and also not be struck down by any sort of health conditions, and just do the things that we know we can control to help prevent these things. It's not going to completely eliminate any of those things happening. They can happen to any one of us, but if we can mitigate our risk factors, I want them to do so as well. And it also shows me overcoming things that I didn't think were possible, things that I find hard, challenges, and it shows them to maybe take up challenges and accept things are difficult sometimes and become a little bit more resilient. And life isn't perfect, and I think all of those things are transferable to business, to real world, families, and the challenges in fitness can definitely help you gain confidence and do those things when it comes to the real world and other activities in life. Another thing to consider is if we aren't in good health ourselves, if we don't have our cup nice and full, then how can we pour it into other people and give other people our energy and our time? And I also think as we age, there's a likelihood or a likeliness that we're going to become more of a burden on our family because we're going to require more support and more help from them. And I think if we're fit in ourselves, that means we don't have to rely on them as much. I can still clearly remember my teachers at school telling me to write down a revision timetable to make sure that I get a certain amount done and I'm accountable to something. And I completely never did that, disregarded that as useful. And I think that's probably because I felt I had almost so much time, I just thought I'd just leave it up until chance. But in hindsight, I should have done that. It's crazy effective how much more you get in just by scheduling everything. You do so much more, and now I actually feel like I almost have to do it because otherwise time just gets eaten up. I don't know where it goes. Maybe I'm procrastinating, just scrolling on my phone. So I personally plan out a week ahead. Absolutely everything goes in my diary, hour by hour, every single day, minute by minute, and that's all of my work. It's the school runs, it's the club runs, it's the time with the family, it's the time that I'm going to be shooting these videos, editing, it's the time that I'm going to be running, swimming, cycling, lifting weights, any other commitments. And doing this, I'll probably say it almost means that I do double every single week what I would do if I didn't plan and I didn't schedule things. So when the clock turns 1 on a Thursday, when it turns 7 on a Sunday or 6 p.m. on a Friday, I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. I just have to look at my diary. This results in 3 things. Number 1, I don't procrastinate. Number 2, I don't have to make a decision about what I'm doing, which takes time. Sometimes I can be indecisive. And number 3, it doesn't allow me any time, any leeway to make any excuses or come up with problems. And I'm not fully a robot, there's planned free time in there, but it just means that I get so much more done, and I really like doing it now because I'm just so much more productive. I get more out of life, more done in the little time that we all have, and you know, time is precious, so I want to make the most of it. And if I'm choosing, I don't really want to waste it just scrolling through TikTok. Another tip my form tutor told me at school was to get my bag ready the night before, and that's something that I didn't do any of the time, just completely disregarded that as well. But I've realized it's an absolute game changer. Maybe I've just grown up, who knows? But preparing ahead of time is good for a few reasons, and I always get my bag ready the night before now. It just means in the morning I have more time with Atticus, the little one. I can make him breakfast, we can run around a bit, have a bit of a play, and my bag's ready to go, and I don't have to worry about forgetting things. And number 2, again, it means that I don't have time to make any excuses. Everything's already ready, everything's already laid out. And in actual fact, it's more hassle and it creates more barriers if I have to go against that plan that I've set out. So for example, if I've got my running stuff out, my shoes by the door, my heart rate monitor by the bed, everything laid out nicely right in the middle of the room, it firstly reduces the barriers to me doing those things, but also reduces the time I've got to make a decision. I just get up, put those on, and away we go. This is the same for every workout. If you've got it planned ahead of time, it just reduces that decision-making process where excuses can crop in. And it's the same with preparing all of your food and your meals. To get the absolute most out of your training and make the absolute most progress, one way to do this is make efficiencies around your home life, your kids, your work life. So I look after the 18-month-old Atticus on a Tuesday, and I'll plan to do a base run during his nap time. Now that means I get a run in whilst he's asleep, so I don't lose any time with him. Another thing I do is I take my eldest, my daughter, to her clubs, and then in the evening, rather than just waiting around for her, I can do a workout and then I can pick her up and take her home. So I haven't had to drive back home then come back, and I haven't had to wait around. I've done my workout in that kind of almost dead time. I can watch her for a little bit as well that way. Another great way for me to get my endurance training in is to do a base ride, cycling, commuting to work. So I'm using that commute time a little bit wiser. I'm gonna be spending time during my commute anyway. If I can cycle and use that as a base ride, it's just an efficient use of time. I also sometimes do emails whilst I'm on the turbo trainer, just doing a zone 1 or zone 2 ride, and having the turbo trainer as well set up all of the time, making it easy to just jump on it and do the workout, saves me time in the future because I have to set things up. Now, all of these things, you know, sometimes they might save me 30 minutes, sometimes they might save me 60 minutes, sometimes they might save me 5 minutes, but that's time that I can then put back into the family, or I can then put back into my training to help me balance things a bit better and just get the most out of everything. Now, I want to encourage you. I know it's not always easy, it's difficult a lot of time, and nothing goes to plan, but there's a few things that we can do to get the most out of our training and make sure we're making progress in all directions. So I hope you found this useful. If you've got any comments, then let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next video.